Right now, our nation is engaged in a political debate to determine whether our country's immigration system should be reformed. It's a historical moment. It's also a moment when the media has an opportunity to focus greater attention on the impact this debate is having on undocumented immigrants. Instead, too much coverage asphyxiated on political gamesmanship in Washington, or the challenges that politicians like Senator Mark Rubio may face in 2016 for supporting any reform effort. There are so many stories the media could shine a light on if they chose to, but simply ignore. For example, a 2011 report by the Applied Research Center found that more than 5,000 children were placed in foster care after their parents were detained or deported because they were undocumented. It is a story that deserves greater attention. Stories of children being separated from their parents are heartbreaking, and there are thousands of them. There's something unjust when the media covers an issue like immigration as political theater, when there's so much human suffering involved. Instead, when they do cover people of color, they often cover us stereotypically. Latinos are illegals. Muslims and Arab Americans are portrayed as terrorists. Native Americans are drunks. African Americans are criminals. There's nothing new about this. Our nation's news media has a long history of dehumanizing people of color, often in an effort to support unjust government policies, defending slavery, supporting the removal of Native Americans from their tribal lands, conquering Mexican territory in the Southwest, the internment of Japanese American citizens and residents during World War II, and supporting Jim Crow laws. You get the point, the list goes on. You see, this is what happens too often when we are unable to tell our stories when other people speak for us. It is the reason why our nation's first African-American newspaper, Freedom's Journal, in 1827 stated, "We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. From the press and the pulpit, we have suffered much from being incorrectly represented." It is the reason why many of us are here today, and the reason why Juan Gonzalez and I co-authored the book News for All the People in 2011. We wanted to document why people of color have historically been marginalized in the media and have so little control over the creation and distribution of our own image. This didn't happen by accident. Instead, it is a result of government decisions that place greater control of each new media industry in the hands of a few companies. It didn't have to be this way. Our government has adopted policies. Our government could have adopted policies to promote greater media diversity, rather than allow a few corporate gatekeepers to decide whose voices are worthy of being heard and whose voices are going to be ignored. This is what the struggle for internet freedom is all about. It is a struggle to prevent AT&T, Comcast, Verizon, and other ISPs, internet service providers, from controlling how we can access the internet. But it's also a struggle to prevent history from repeating itself. There's a lot at stake in making sure that people, like everyone in this room here, has the ability to fight for greater media equality, because the fight is a difficult one. The Obama administration and FCC chairman have too often placated corporate ambition rather than stand up to the public interest. The administration had an opportunity to fight for greater media equality, but has been too eager to allow greater media consolidation. It had an opportunity to protect our internet freedom, but caved into corporate pressure, which now places the future of an open internet at risk. This is why gatherings to address our nation's media inequality, like we are doing today, is so critical, whether it is here today or in your local communities back home. Because the fight for a more just media system is a part of the solution for the struggle for a more just immigration system, for a more just financial system, a more just school system, a more just criminal justice system, a more just political system, and a more just society. There is nothing new about the fight for media justice. There's nothing new about the fight for media justice and media reform. The struggle is as old as this nation, and it's not an easy one. We are going up against powerful institutions that shape our culture and society. The fight can seem daunting at times. This is why we have to celebrate our victories along the way. They matter because they impact real people's lives. So we should celebrate when we all come together and work together to stop an AT&T T-Mobile merger. We have to celebrate court victories that prevents the FCC from relaxing ownership rules even further. Or we have to celebrate when Color of Change leads a campaign to get rid of folks like Glenn Beck. We have to celebrate victories by Presente.org and the National Hispanic Media Coalition and other coalitions nationally and locally who said basta to Lou Dobbs. That's Lou Dobbs. We should celebrate the fight to end predatory prison phone practices, which the Center for Media Justice is currently engaging in, as well as other national groups as well and local. And we should celebrate the decision this week by the Associated Press that announced that it will no longer refer to undocumented immigrants as illegal in its style book. Now, this came after protests, years of protests from Latino journalists, as well as a campaign led by the Applied Research Center, the Drop the I-Word campaign. As you can see, the struggle continues. It's a struggle we must have for the sake of our communities and for the sake of our society.